You know, for the longest time, we've talked about advanced AI as this black box. We put data in, we get answers out, but what happens in the middle? That's been a total mystery. Well, some absolutely groundbreaking research has just given us a new kind of key to unlock that box, and for the first time, maybe even read the mind of a machine. Let's dive in. So this is the big question, right? When a large language model gives you an answer, what's really going on under the hood? What concepts has it learned all by itself? And how in the world can we map that internal, alien landscape in a way that we can actually understand and, this is the important part, trust?
Okay, so the first thing you've got to get your head around is that AIs don't think in words like you and me. They think in what researchers call features. Now, a feature is basically an abstract concept. It could be something concrete, like the idea of the Golden Gate Bridge, or something more abstract, like the category of political titles. And each one of these features is represented as a specific direction in this massive, high-dimensional map inside the AI. If we can understand these features, we can start to understand the AI.
So here's our game plan. First, we're going to tackle that black box problem head-on. Then, we'll look at why our old tools, basically just using plain English, are really not cutting it. From there, we'll introduce this powerful new language built just for this, put it to the test against the old way, and then see how it lets us map the entire mind of a model. And finally, we'll talk about why this is so important for all of us. All right, first up, the AI black box. This is the fundamental challenge in AI safety, right? How do you peek inside the mind of a machine? How do we make sense of the billions upon billions of calculations that are happening every single second inside these incredibly complex systems? So, up until now, our main tools for this has been, well, plain English. Researchers basically ask another AI to look at how a feature behaves and then just describe it in a sentence. Seems pretty logical, doesn't it? But as it turns out, there is a massive, fundamental problem with this whole approach.
And that brings us to the trouble with words. You see, using a natural language like English to describe these super precise mathematical concepts inside an AI, well, it's kind of like trying to perform brain surgery with a spoon. It's not the right tool for the job.
So here's the deal. These English descriptions, they're often super vague. They're way too long or verbose. They're inconsistent. You can get a different description for the same feature every time you ask. And worst of all, they can be dangerously ambiguous. And look, these aren't just little annoyances. These are huge roadblocks that stop us from ever really understanding, let alone controlling, these powerful models. Which brings us to the solution, and this is where things get really cool. Researchers thought, wait a minute, what if, instead of using a language that was made for poetry in everyday chats, we invented a language specifically for describing AI features? And that is exactly what they did. Meet semantic regexes. Think of a semantic regex like a set of super precise Legos. At the heart of it, you have primitives, and these define the basic pattern you're looking for. Then you have modifiers, which let you get more specific, add context, or even combine different patterns together. The whole system is built from the ground up for precision.
Let's break down these primitives. The most basic one is the symbol. This is just a literal one-to-one match. So the regex R symbol color will only fire when it sees the exact string color. No variations, no cleverness. Just that specific word. Simple, direct.
Okay, one step up from that, things get a little smarter. We have the lexeme. Now this one understands a bit of grammar. So lexeme color will match the word color, but it'll also match colors and coloring. It gets the root concept of the word, not just the exact letters. And this is where the magic really happens. The field primitive does a semantic search. So, like field color doesn't look for the word color at all. It looks for the idea of color. It'll match words like blue, pink, red, and yellow. It's grabbing an entire category of concepts. So powerful.
All right, so we've got this cool new language, but how does it actually perform against good old plain English? Let's put them in the ring and see what happens.
I mean, just look at the difference here. On the left, you've got this long, rambling sentence trying its best to explain what a feature is about. And on the right, a tiny, elegant, and totally precise semantic regex that captures the exact same idea. The difference in conciseness is it's stunning.
And this slide just drives the point home perfectly. You have a 23-word description that boils down to just 3 little pieces in the regex. It's looking for the concept of cover, but only within the context of journalism. That's it. It's not just shorter, it's a formula. It's a precise, computable recipe for what that feature actually does.
But it's not just about being shorter. It's about being consistent. And the numbers here are kind of mind-blowing. When the researchers had the system generate descriptions for the same feature over and over again, the semantic regexes were the exact same over a third of the time. That level of repeatability, it's just unheard of with natural language.
I mean, look at this chart. Semantic regexes are hitting a 33.6% consistency score. Now compare that to the standard ways of doing this with natural language. One is down at 12%, and the other one, maxax, it's at 0%. It never ever produced the same description twice. For finding redundant or similar features in a model, this is an absolute game changer.
Okay, this is cool for looking at one feature at a time, right? But the real magic, the real breakthrough, happens when you zoom out. Because this structured language lets us go from looking at individual trees to seeing the entire forest. We can actually start to map the model's mind.
So what the researchers did was they analyzed the regexes for features from every single layer of the model. And a really clear, beautiful pattern emerged. You can see it here. In the early layers, that purple on the left, the regexes are really simple, mostly just basic symbols. But as you go deeper and deeper into the model's brain, into the green and yellow, the regexes get longer and way more complex, using abstract things like fields. We are literally watching the model build from simple perceptions to complex, abstract thoughts.
Okay, this is all fascinating from a technical standpoint. But what about for us, for actual people? Does this new structured language really help humans get a better grip on what the AI is thinking? That's the real test, isn't it?
And the answer seems to be a huge yes. The researchers ran a study. They gave people either a normal English description or a semantic regex, and then asked them to come up with text that would trigger that feature. And look at the results. The people who got the semantic regex, that's the blue bars, were way better at predicting the feature's behavior. The precision of the language led directly to a more precise understanding in the human's mind. Which brings us to our final and most important point. Why does any of this matter for us? Look, this isn't just some neat academic exercise. This is about building a future where we can actually trust AI. Without tools like this, we're flying blind. We risk building systems that develop hidden biases, dangerous capabilities, things we can't see until it's way too late.
All right, so let's boil it all down. The bottom line is this. Semantic regexes are just as accurate as our old wordy methods, but they are way more concise and consistent, which means we can find and fix problems so much faster. They unlock a whole new kind of model-wide analysis, giving us a bird's-eye view of an AI's thinking process. And maybe most importantly, they help us, the humans in the loop, actually understand what's going on. And that is the absolute first step to building AI we can genuinely trust.
And this isn't the final word on the matter. As the researchers themselves put it, this incredible work opens up a broader design space of structured languages. These are the kinds of tools that will be absolutely essential for improving our understanding and, even more critically, our control of these incredibly powerful models.
And that leaves us with this really interesting thought to chew on. First, we invented programming languages to talk to computers. And now, we're having to invent brand new languages to help computers explain themselves back to us. It really makes you wonder, what's the next language we're going to need to invent to truly and safely understand the minds we're building? That's a question we're all going to have to answer together.